How can I call myself an American patriot? Because a MS-13 gang member, wife-beating, child-abusing foreign citizen was sent back to his country of origin? Pretty easily. That's what American patriots do. Secondly, the Supreme Court did not say...
Charlie Kirk isn't new to confrontation, but this one's a curveball that a self-proclaimed Trump voter steps up and challenges Charlie on immigration, due process, Supreme Court rulings, and the Constitution. But here's the twist. He says a conservative does his argument hold up under pressure. Or does Charlie peel back the label and reveal something deeper? Let's find out.
Charlie Kirk, it's really you, man. I've been following you since George Floyd, that whole thing went down. I want to preface my question by saying I voted for Donald Trump, but when students say that Donald Trump wants to rule like a fascist and then deports people like Abrego Garcia without due process, I wanted to ask you, how can you call yourself an American patriot when the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that the deportation was unlawful and that they are ordered to facilitate his return and haven't?
How can I call myself an American patriot? Because a MS-13 gang member, wife-beating, child-abusing foreign citizen was sent back to his country of origin? Pretty easily. That's what American patriots do. Secondly, the Supreme Court did not say that. They said 9-0 that there was an administrative error, that he could have been sent to any country except El Salvador. The fact was not that it was wrong that he was deported. It was just the fact that he was deported to the one country he could not be deported to. Finally, I don't understand the emphasis and the concern and the hyper-pathological fixation on why a foreign citizen who is a gang member gets all of the attention of the American left while you, the American people, have been ignored by them over the last 30 years. It's creepy and it's bizarre.
There are a lot of criticisms to be made that we have been ignored, but at the end of the day, number one, the 14th Amendment grants due process.
Wrong.
Yes, it does.
Not under the Alien Enemies Act. That's incorrect. Alien Enemies Act does not give you the same due process rights. Number one.
He can. Okay.
Number two, it was still underway while that happened. Number two, the Supreme Court ruled in 2019 under the Expedited Removal Act that you do not get full due process rights if you're within 100 miles of the border or 14 days of entry. And then number three, do you think that we should have 21 million trials for all the illegals that the Democrats lend in?
Right out of the gate, the student claims he supported Trump, but then dives straight into progressive legal critiques. That contradiction? Charlie catches it immediately. Without missing a beat, he reframes the entire deportation case, not as some abstract due process debate, but as a justified removal of a violent criminal. What's striking is how fast the conversation shifts, from legal theory to real-world consequences.
To take each point, number one, the Alien Enemies Act can only be invoked if there's, I believe, reason to suspect war, or if there's...
Yes, we've been invaded the last 4 years, so yes.
You can't just say that.
Yes, you can.
A court has...
Tren de Aragua and MS-13 invaded this country the last 4 years. We have material proof to show that. What's your next point?
Okay, that has to be proven in a court of law, but my next point is...
No, it does not. You could do it and then you prove it. The point is the president has full authority to invoke the AEA.
You can do it and then you can prove it?
Yes, that's correct. The commander, for example, the commander-in-chief has unilateral war powers acts within 90 days to be able to defend the country of the Asian invasion or incursion or war. For example, the president doesn't have to go in front of a judge if all of a sudden he wants to defend ourselves against Saddam Hussein or whomever, North Korea attacking the country. The president is the commander-in-chief who can act unilaterally under Article 2 to defend our country against invasion. You don't have to go to a court first to get permission to act as commander-in-chief. That's insane.
Things escalate quickly. The student drops terms like the Alien Enemies Act, Supreme Court precedents, and constitutional war powers. But Charlie's strength? Cutting through the legal fog with brutal clarity that he tosses all the jargon aside and asks the question that floors the room. Why are we bending over backward for foreign criminals while ignoring our own citizens? That redirection hits like a hammer.
I'm not sure if that's true, but I'll take that for the case.
Of course it's true,
For the case of argument. The Supreme Court still ruled that they have to facilitate his return. They have not. Why haven't they?
They asked. It's El Salvador. They said no.
The Supreme Court says they have to facilitate his return.
They don't control El Salvador. I'm sorry. They don't control El Salvador.
So we can send people to El Salvador, but we can't bring them back?
Yes, we don't control El Salvador. Right. But it's not our country.
So we can send people there?
You mean, wait, hold on. You mean we sent an El Salvadorian back to El Salvador?
Against the law.
Wrong. It was an administrative error. It was not against the law. It's not against the law.
There was a 2019 court ruling under Dave M. Jones that he has a withholding of...
They could go to any country except El Salvador. We acknowledge it was the one country he should not have been sent to. It was not an illegal deportation. The judge said, this is your final warning, Mr. Garcia. You could be scooped up at any time and sent to any country except El Salvador. So, ironically, if we would have sent him to the Congo, Gitmo, North Korea, it would have been perfectly fine, which would have actually been foreign prisons. We actually did him the accommodation of him going home. Thank you very much. Next question. We're running out of time.
The student walks right into it. He leans hard on court rulings, and Charlie flips the script instantly. If courts are always right, then you're good with Trump's convictions. Boom. Silence. The student stumbles, and that's the moment the cracks show. Because here's the thing, you can't cherry-pick credibility. When courts agree with you, they're sacred. When they don't, suddenly the system's rigged. Charlie doesn't miss. He turns that double standard into a weapon and drives it straight home.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd make it here, but okay, politics are meant to separate us. What do you think of that?
Wrong.
And why?
Politics is the highest form of community because it blends sociality, sociability, and morality. We are political beings, naturally. Politics actually is meant to bring us together. Look how everyone is brought together here in defense of the country and liberty and freedom. This is actually a unifying event, not a dividing one.
Okay, but we've survived for millions of years without politics, or thousands, I'm sorry.
Wrong. Every civilization, every custom has always had some political structure. They've had kings, they've had pharaohs, they've had czars, they've had some sort of governing structure is political by nature.
But those weren't debating, you didn't debate to have those kings.
Of course you did. You had debates all the time. Even in Jesus' time, the Sadducees debated the Pharisees, and they debated the Romans, and they debated the Samaritans, and they debated the Judeans. We are political beings by nature. Man is a political animal.
Okay, but why hasn't there been some sort of middle ground in between the two?
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
Why hasn't there been a sort of middle ground in between the two?
I don't know, ask the left that. We found middle ground with some of these questioners. We brought a liberal up, and he was pro-trans, and we found middle ground on very important issues. No men and female sports and no castration of kids. We did find middle ground here.
All right, thanks.
Part 2. This is where it gets deep. The second student drops the politics divides us line, and Charlie steamrolls it. His reply, politics is the highest form of community that is almost Aristotelian. And honestly, it lands hard. Because here's the truth. Humanity has always been political. Wishing for a utopia doesn't erase 5,000 years of history. Now, let's break down both clips. First student, total contradiction. He claims to be a Trump voter, then starts parroting progressive legal talking points. His whole case, that the Constitution and Supreme Court demand a return of a violent, deported gang member. But Charlie doesn't even blink. He reframes it instantly. This isn't about policy. It's about protecting citizens. We're not debating theory here. We're talking about a child-abusing, wife-beating MS-13 thug. And here's a debate masterclass. Charlie shifts it from abstract legal talk to real world stakes. And when he drops a line, why is the left obsessed with protecting foreign criminals while ignoring law-abiding Americans? That's it. He's got the room. And just like that, the audience's moral compass snapped back to reality. First, the student's legal argument. Full of holes. He cited a 1990 Supreme Court ruling, claiming it condemned deportation without due process, but Charlie corrected him, surgically. The issue wasn't about deportation being unconstitutional, it was about a technical error. The person was deported to the wrong country. Anywhere but El Salvador would have been fine. That one detail crushed the student's entire framing. Second, Charlie didn't just refute facts, he dismantled the logic behind the argument. The student pushed for due process of illegal immigrants. Charlie hit back. So you want 21 million individual court trials? That's a trap.in theory. It sounds noble.in reality. It's a logistical and fiscal disaster, a Trojan horse for endless delay. Charlie exposed how legal activism often hides behind process to cripple enforcement, not deliver justice. Third, things got philosophical. The student leaned on the authority of courts. Charlie flipped it. If you trust the court so much, are you okay with Trump being convicted felon? Boom. Now he's cornered. Either he accepts Trump's conviction, or admits that courts can be wrong. Checkmate. But if he accepts Trump's conviction, he's swallowing the left entire narrative on Trump's guilt. If he rejects it, he admits courts get it wrong, even after just offending them. Either way, his credibility crumbles. That moment wasn't just a win for Charlie. It was a total dismantling of the student's moral consistency. Fifth, things shifted to executive authority, and it became painfully clear the student had no real grasp of Article 2, the War Powers Clause, or immigration law. Charlie stepped in with clarity. Under the Alien Enemies Act, the president doesn't have to sit around waiting for a court ruling when national defense is at stake. Invasion, incursion, war. These aren't just rhetorical flourishes, they are legal triggers. And Charlie invoked them unapologetically. He reframed illegal immigration not as a policy debate, but as a sustained invasion that justifies executive action. That framing It hits deep. IT bypasses the academic back and forth hand taps directly into a nationalistic defensive instinct. Then came the second challenger. No legal jargon this time. Just a poetic musing. Politics separates us. A classic line from idealistic youth. Sounds nice, but it doesn't survive reality. Charlie didn't just rebut the point. He took it all the way back to Aristotle. Politics, he argued, is the highest form of community. IT fuses morality and sociability because humans are inherently political. Politics isn't a glitch in the system. It is a system every society, from ancient tribes to monarchies to modern democracies, has had politics at its core. It's not something we outgrow, it's something we grow into. Then came the utopia myth, that feel-good fantasy of a borderless, politics-free paradise. Charlie didn't just disagree. He torched it with history. Even in biblical times, people debated, argued, made laws, wrestled with power and justice. Politics was always there. The students appealed to middle ground, met with a firm but respectful reality check that we find middle ground when it's possible. But on core issues, compromise isn't peace, it's surrender. And that's the core of Charlie's worldview, unity. Where possible, conviction where necessary. The final takeaway, consistency, courage, clarity. Too many young activists show up with selective outrage and cherry-picked talking points. But real debate isn't about who shouts louder, it's about who can follow their argument to its logical conclusion and still stand tall. Charlie Kirk did just that. Both students revealed the same core weakness. One used conservative labels to launch progressive attacks, while the other floated idealism with no historical footing. Charlie, he stayed rooted, law, history, reality, and that's why these moments go viral. Not because Charlie is yelling, but because he's patient, informed, and relentlessly principled. In a world drowning in emotional appeals and selective outrage, consistency stand out, and Charlie delivers it. If you got value from this breakdown, smash that like button, subscribe for more, and drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.